I stared at the phone for several minutes before finally processing what was happening. Someone had let it slip that I was making money, and a lot at that. Unfortunately, I wasn't making as much as people seemed to think. Not only that, Gordon knew I had no way to call bullshit on how much he was asking for. No one still living that life would have my back against him. He certainly had me by the short and curlies. Instead of sleeping like I planned, I set about researching personal security and secure apartments. Gordon expected me to pay him back and roll over and take it like a good boy, but fuck that and fuck him. If I gave him the money, he'd keep squeezing till I had nothing left. It was going to take a lot more money to make myself safe while I worked out a plan for how to deal with Gordon when the 90 days were up. To do that, and to afford protection for my family, I needed to make a lot more money in-game. To be more precise, I already made a lot of money in-game. I needed to upgrade that to a metric fuck-ton of money. First, I planned for withdrawing a total of $20,000 worth of gold each week. That would give me enough for a nice apartment in a secured building uptown, some money to invest in the real world, and living expenses. Next, I started researching some of the forums people had created for the realms, since there were no official forums. There had to be something that players wanted, and there was one answer all over the place: an auction house. Players around the world and from all the different realms complained that there wasn't an auction house in any of the major cities in-game. That was my gold mine. I could build an auction house and charge players for using it like in other games. All it would take would be a reasonable fee for listing items and getting a percentage of the sales price. I felt a little bit better about things when I had something that vaguely resembled a plan. Thankfully, I hadn't used my boon in the city yet. I could probably use it to help with startup expenses for building one in Corbinhold. If it did well enough, I could use that as capital for building them in other cities. When I finally fell asleep, my dreams were all over the place. I would start out with sitting in a room counting massive piles of money, only to see Gordon come in and set it on fire. Another one involved driving my parents home in a new car to see their house burning to the ground. There was even one where he held a gun to my head and made me throw money into a fire. Basically, money and fire were the two recurring themes. The next day, I logged in and went straight to Rowan. I needed to see if what I wanted to do was even possible. Thankfully, it was a relatively slow day. He had hired some helpers to deal with the crowds normally in there, so he had one of them cover the counter while we went in the back to chat. Here's what I want to do, Rowan. I want an auction house set up in every major city across the realms, each interconnected so you can buy from one auction house anything sold in any of the other auction houses. I'll take a listing fee from putting it up for sale and a percentage fee, each a minimum of 1 gold. Tell me, is it possible? Rowan thought for a minute on the matter.
Aye, it's possible, lad, but a hell of an initial investment. You're looking at a lot of money to set up the enhancements required to keep something like that working. You can't just build the building and suddenly everyone everywhere can see what folks are selling.
I was afraid of that. Well, how much do you think it will cost, and what can I do about it with the boon from the capital? I asked.
Shit, lad. I figured you'd used that already for a merchant license. If you've got that, you could get the Crown to direct the Mages Guild to assist you. That would eliminate the major cost for starting one up. I think they could set it up where there's a central array in the main office, which I assume would be here, that is sending and receiving listings from everywhere else. Here's the kicker, though, lad. You're only going to be able to do this in the human realms at first. If you want to set it up in any other race's territory, you have to sort it out with their leadership. We can take care of the human realms with your boon, but you're doing some traveling if you want to get the elves and dwarves involved.
Para seguir escuchando este audiolibro gratuitamente, haz clic en el enlace de la descripción y podrás escucharlo completo sin coste gracias a la prueba de 30 días de Audible.